Title belts to Hall of Fame. Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold. Every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, cry. Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar. Dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves. Memphis wrestling raising the stage.
Hey everybody, welcome back for season 2 of your favorite wrestling podcast, Dangerous Conversations with Dangerous Doug Gilbert and Tommy Wildfire Rich. Guys, it has been far too long since we've gotten together and done this. How y'all been?
Man, Gene, I am great, and man, we've just been really busy getting some projects out of the way. People have been calling, texting, asking me on social media where we've been at. But like I said, yourself, Tommy, myself, we've had different projects that we've been doing, and but man, I'm happy to be back on here to talk with everyone about everything we got going on.
Shoot, I've been tuning in every week. I just couldn't get in touch with y'all, man.
We've been here talking wrestling every week, wondering where we was.
Yeah, I've been waiting. I've been waiting like the rest of the folks.
We're going to talk a little bit more about a little bit of what we've been up to lately and kind of what people can expect moving forward. But talking about being busy, man, let's talk about some of the things that you guys are going to be busy with coming up. You know, part of these projects and these things we've had going on, you know, we've been talking about it for a while now. 35th anniversary of the Memphis Mafia. And man, you guys are as popular as ever. And so let's talk about it. Saturday, April the 26th. One of those projects we've been working, I guess before I say this, let me back up just a second here. One of the projects that we were finishing up that we kind of, like I say, we took a break in between seasons here on the podcast is we were finishing up Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, the Uncrowned King of Professional Wrestling, the book. That you and I have been working on, Doug, and we got that finished up. And Saturday, April the 26th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, you are going to be doing a virtual signing online where people can get autographed copies of the brand new book straight from you. You'll be signing them there online. The link to that is www.thcringside.com/books. Now, I don't expect you to remember that. If you could just either go to our Facebook page or go to douggilbertpodcast.com. We got all these links there. You can hit them up there. But man, it's pretty dang cool. Exciting that this book's is coming out, Doug. I know you're excited as I am.
Man, you know what? I'm really excited about the book, Gene, and I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of different stories out of it, which I think, like you said, me and you both, we put a lot of time in it and everything, but we got it finished up. And like you said, the 26th at 2 p.m. I'll be doing a virtual signing, and the guys have shipped me boxes and boxes of books, and there's stories in there from just myself and Eddie and Tommy. There's some funny stuff that's in there that pertains to Tommy and Eddie together, and I thought that was really cool that we put that in the book. And I mean, there's some cool pictures that I don't think have been seen before by people, and really cool stories. A whole book of Eddie's life from when he was a kid all through the wrestling business and everything. And man, it's just really cool. And like I said, I'm really glad it's coming out right now and everything. And like I said, the 26th at 2 p.m. we'll be doing a virtual signing. And after the 26th, it's supposed to start then as far as on Amazon, but I think you and my wife had told me that it's already on Amazon, I think in the UK maybe or somewhere. We was talking about that the other night.
Yeah, that's what Melissa was saying, that she's actually personally seen the link and clicked on it, and it works. So I know of had some of our listeners and friends in the UK and in foreign countries asking, they can't get the book at the current link. You are able to get it on Amazon right now. So,
and man, what's really cool too is we've got actually the Memphis Mafia shirts are finally on the Gilbert family page. Like me and Tommy had on. Somebody sent me a picture the other day of the shirts me and Tommy had on, but they're finally on the Pro Wrestling Tees Gilbert family page thing. So it's cool to get them up. Like I said, I really like those, and I saw a picture of me and Tommy in them the other day, and it was really neat. But this book deal, I think is really cool, and I'm glad to have it done and where the people can read it and everything. And I mean, here's the deal: it won't be long before you. It's not going to be quick by any means, but it won't be long before you have a book about Tommy. You can probably be reading here in a few months, which I guess I shouldn't say that. Maybe 6 months. I don't know. It depends on how quick Tommy and Gene are or everything. But anyway, whatever. Like Gene said, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, the Uncrowned King of Professional Wrestling. I think it's a real cool book, and I hope everybody gets him a copy and reads it.
Well,
yeah, man, we kind of kept it quiet.
Hey, but it ain't just the wrestling part of the Eddie Gilbert story. It's that young part too. I mean, Eddie was always quite the character and always very smart, very businessman. And hey, I guarantee you, folks, you'll enjoy reading it.
Oh, Tommy, it's got some stories in there about you and Eddie that most people think they would never get to read. So I think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, we talked to a lot of people for that book. Got a lot of different people's input and some stories. That from a lot of people have a lot of great memories of Eddie, and they was looking forward to sharing them. And I'm glad we was able to get that together. Like I said, we kind of kept it. We just kind of worked on it quietly the past 2 or 3 months because it's kind of something that's kind of been in the works for many years, and it finally came together. And I'm certainly glad it did. And so, April 26th, get your signed copy from Doug via that virtual signing. And also on April 26th, our boy Tommy is going to be busy. He's going to be at the Wrestling in the Smokies Fest in Bryson, North Carolina. So you can get on there at 2:00. You can get your signed book from Doug, and then you can head out to the action that night in Bryson, North Carolina, and see Tommy in action at the Wrestling in the Smokies Fest. That sounds like fun, Tommy. I'm jealous of that one.
Yeah, we're going up a little day early, check out the Smokies, man, enjoy it a little bit. I think Ricky Roberts there. It's a big show, so I'm really excited. First time I've ever wrestled in Bryson City, so looking forward to that. And I think the doors open at 4. It's like a big festival, so I'm really excited about going.
Yeah, man, beautiful country up there. Great wrestling fans. So that should be a whole lot of fun, man.
Now, where's that, Gene? Is that North Carolina or is that Tennessee?
Yeah, Bryson, North Carolina, just up above,
it's
Gatlinburg and all that.
It's close to it's close. It's on the other side of the mountain. It's close to Cherokee, where the casino is. Not saying I'm gonna stop you.
Okay.
Put some money on black. But yeah, the casino, you got to go right by the casino to hit Bryson.
So you're right over the mountain then from Gatlinburg. You're if you go up what do they call it? The Dragon. If you go up the Dragon, which a lot of people ride that on motorcycles, on the other side is the Indian casinos and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Well, that's cool.
So what I'm picturing, Doug, is Richard and Thomas are going to put them York Foundation suits on, slick that hair back, and go in that casino and just clean that place out. That's what it sounds like.
hey, they might do
it. We'll talk about it a little more in a little bit, but we saw Ricky Saturday afternoon, and he was rocking that York Foundation suit.
I'll probably be calling you, Gene, and ask you to send the money.
We'll have to send you some of that Memphis Mafia T-shirt money over to get you out.
There you go.
We can do it. Well, hey, after that, coming up Saturday, May the 3rd, we've been talking about this a long time, and we're finally almost there. WrestleCon and the TWA one and done event at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, if you're saying, what the heck's the 2300 Arena? Well, you used to know it as the ECW Arena. We are going to be there. I'm actually getting to accompany the Memphis Mafia on this trip, and I'm super excited about it. Going to be flying out there. Man, everybody you can think of from back in the day, from the tri-state days, from the ECW days, are going to be at this convention, Doug. It's going to be quite the happening, as they say. Joel Goodhart has pulled out all the stops, as he always did on those events, right?
Man, he sure has. I'm really looking forward to this, and I know Tommy is too. And from the start of when it was started being called the ECW Arena, it was Eastern Championship Wrestling, and that was what was started at the get-go with Todd Gordon and my brother and myself, and we had a crew of guys and everything. And I mean, it turned into like a cult type deal, which I told Tommy that from the get-go, and then he wound up there when it had changed to Extreme Championship Wrestling. But I mean, you had the same guys, I mean, the same wrestlers. Some of the wrestlers changed, but the same fans. It was like a cult type deal, which was cool and everything, but it was like a different scene than anybody had kind of seen before. But the cool deal was Joel's fans from before, the TWA fans, they was like that also. So it was kind of that area and kind of the style. And Joel brought the Southern to the North and everything. And then, I mean, everybody kind of, everybody grasped and says it however they want to say it. But I mean, it was, like I told you one time when Eddie was booking it, I just called it Memphis North and everything, because it was, it was cool. You had different guys and everything, but I mean, you did some of the same angles. You changed them a little bit and everything, but you got everybody over. You want to keep everybody over. I've heard so many people say, "Well, this booker didn't want me to get over, didn't use me right." I've never known a booker. Have you, Tommy, that didn't want to get everybody over? Because if you had everybody over, you was drawing money.
Well, yes, sir. That's the deal. That was the deal. Hey, and when we refer to ECW, Police G referred to me as the Paisan, the Big Don. Okay,
You got that right.
I was the ruler of all the northern folk up there.
Well, that's what people need to remember. Franchise Shane Douglas, he's going on these podcasts and things, and he's saying that, he's bringing Team Extreme, to the 2300 Arena, and he's going to have a mystery partner from ECW. And he acts like you guys are supposed to be intimidated. But, the Big Don ran that place. And the Dark Patriot was jumping off the crow's nest. And he's coming off of scaffolds. Like, you guys aren't afraid to get extreme. Like, you guys are getting extreme before these guys even thought about that. When he was still Dean Douglas, it was supposed to be a principal or some stuff. So, you guys ain't scared of it. It's going to be quite the battle, right?
Stayed home and been principal that night.
What do you mean supposed to be principal, Gene? I think he's still a principal.
Well, yeah, he is a legit. Well, I wasn't going to call him out on that, but I'm talking about, Vince used to play him to play a principal, and then he went and did it.
They promoted him to vice principal.
Oh, he's vice principal now?
He's vice principal.
Well, hey, I will say this though, Gene. Now that Shane is a smart guy. And if you talk to him and everything, you realize that and everything. But that's another guy, which we don't say we always find the right guys, but that's another guy that my brother found.
Gave him the name, right? He would have been Troy Martin if your brother hadn't have came up with Shane Douglas. So that's
yeah. Well, I think if Eddie wouldn't have came up with that, somebody else would have come up with something. It probably wouldn't have been Shane Douglas, but it probably wouldn't have been Troy Martin that you would have.
Well, for the sake of our narrative here, we're going to pretend like he would have had to go through his career being Troy Martin already. But if you want to hear more details about how Eddie came up with the name Shane Douglas, read the book coming out very soon.
There you go.
It is definitely in there. So that following, go ahead. You got something else on that?
Well, I was just fixing to say the TCW deal in Philly. That there's so many people that is going to be there and at the signing and at the show that me and Tommy haven't even seen in a long time. Because, Tommy was in the first or second main event that Joel had against Dick Slater. So, I mean, that tells you what a history lesson that is, Tommy. I mean, the people imagine up north in Philly, Baltimore, whatever, Tommy Rich against Dick Slater. I mean, I love Dick Slater. I was in Japan with him and traveled with him a lot and got to know him in Japan. And I was telling Tommy about that, man. You talking about a cool, tough. If he didn't like you, you didn't want him to not like you. I mean, he was a freaking, like I said, he was always super cool with me, but he was a guy you didn't want to make mad at you.
No, or he might flush your head in the toilet, right?
Hey, and one of the best, as good a worker in the business as anybody else. I mean,
right.
And we talked about Eddie looked up to Terry Funk, and I think Dickie looked up to Terry Funk quite a bit. They were good friends, and but Dickie, yeah, I run around Georgia with him quite a bit, and then we went up there, and that's Joel Goodhart, man. Hey, come all these years later, putting this big show together. I'm excited about being on that May the 3rd. It's gonna be a night to remember. I guarantee you.
It sure will be. Gene Week, like Tommy said, he can't wait, and I can't neither. It'll be a great deal. And like I said, like Tommy said about Slater being one of the best. I mean, I laugh as far as stories in Japan that happened. You know, I had booked Slater over there and Terry Funk, and I got one night we was talking about different stories, and Diggy Slater said, well, what about the time you threw my bed out the window out of the 10th floor? And that was when they was at the Keo Plaza, Tommy, when they were staying over at the Keo Plaza and everything. They got into an argument or something, and Terry got into Slater's room, and Slater wasn't in there, and Terry, that's when the windows were open, like the 8th and 10th floors and stuff. There wasn't no safety stuff, and Terry got in there and threw all his stuff out the window like an 8-story stuff. But you talking about two characters now, I think sometimes Slater tried to act like Terry, and I wasn't sure if Terry wasn't acting like Dickie sometimes. It was a different, they was cool. You talking about two cool cats.
Man, yeah. So, yeah, we're looking forward to that, man. I'm excited to get to tag along on that deal and get to be a part of this. So, it's going to be fun. So, make sure your tickets are still available. You can get your tickets for both the convention and the event that night. So, check that out. And then the following weekend, Tommy stays busy, Doug, with Wildfire Championship Wrestling. We're going to hear in a few minutes. We're going to ask Tommy about a lot of great action they had there this past weekend. But you guys, Friday, May the 9th, and Saturday, May the 10th, Doug, you're going to be heading up there with Tommy for some Wildfire Championship Wrestling. And they haven't told you where yet, which makes me kind of nervous for you. But
hey, it don't make me nervous, Gene. They said that Tommy told me there's some business that needs to be handled up there, and we're going up there to handle business, what we're going up there for. So I guarantee you, it don't matter what part of Kentucky, what part of Virginia, what part of West Virginia, wherever it is up there for Wildfire Championship Wrestling, it'll be my first rodeo, and by God, you can bet it's going to be a big one.
Oh, and you ain't lying. We hadn't got the tags named yet, but we had a big weekend this past weekend. We did Saturday night, and we did a big show for the Flood Relief Fund, and the benefits was to help them out. And the turnout was real good. Had some great matches, and that's where Dougie comes in. We had some boys jump on us, and we like even numbers. So I know I called Dougie, and Dougie said, "Hell yeah, I'll come." So anyway, yeah, the 9th and 10th, y'all write that down. And I got the towns coming up, but it's going to be a big weekend in Kentucky.
Yeah, y'all be back here next week. We'll let you know what towns those meetings are going to take place in.
And you know what's really cool, Gene? I haven't been in Kentucky in about 5 years. I mean, I might have actually popped up and done a signing, but as far as me wrestling in Kentucky, about 5 years ago, I think is the last time I wrestled in Kentucky. So it's going to be kind of a cool homecoming for me also.
I like Kentucky. It's a nice place up there. And speaking of, yes, y'all are going to be up there Friday night, May the 10th and Saturday. I mean, Friday night, May the 9th and Saturday, May the 10th. But Thursday, June the 12th, Pro Wrestling Entertainment, you guys are going to be at Mayfield Mayhem in Mayfield, Kentucky at the Jackson Purchase District Fairgrounds, 7 p.m. It's not just going to be you guys, but y'all are going to be joined by WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler, my good buddy Jeremiah Plunkett's going to be up there, a whole host of great stars on that one.
You know what? I think Tommy's got us going everywhere, Gene. He's got the Memphis Mafia headed everywhere. We're all over Kentucky. We're all over Pennsylvania. We're all over everywhere. I mean, which that's cool to me and everything. Like I said, Tommy's got us traveling, and that's a good deal. I love to get around, especially people that I haven't been around in a long time, and get to see fans that I hadn't seen in a long time, and it's just a great feeling. Like I said, I've got dates wrote down here. You've got dates. Tommy's got dates, and kind of the cool thing too is me and Tommy both, like this past weekend. Tommy was up there with his guys, and I was over here in Mississippi with some guys, and it was cool to get to see guys like. And I told Tommy this earlier that I got to see like Ron Simmons and JBL, Bradshaw, and it was cool to see. I mean, I talked with both those guys about 30 or 40 minutes, just me and those guys, but talking about old times, talking to Ron Simmons about him being Eddie's partner in WCW and him running around with Eddie a lot and everything. Man, that was really cool to me, and which they told me to tell Tommy hello and everything. And I told him Tommy was staying busier than I was, and they started laughing and said, it's good.
Shit, that Ricky, I mean, he was Ricky Morton too, and I know that Ricky talked his ear off.
Oh, yeah, Ricky had some stuff to say and everything, but like I said, we had a good, probably
Ricky put him to work, Tommy.
Yeah.
he was the stand-in for the Rock and Roll Express Saturday night, except he didn't get to be Robert Gibson. He had to he had to do the work in there. But no, you guys, man, they had a great crowd down there, and Tommy, that match got such a great reaction, boy. I mean, Ricky and Doug was the consummate baby faces, and boy, the crowd was all for them. And man, you got to before the show, you had the meet and greet up there, and a lot of great fans coming through that you hadn't seen in a while. That had seen you come through telling different places they remembered you from and asking about where's Tommy. And
yeah, that's
Mississippi. That's always been a heck of a wrestling town. So I'm sure they had a good turnout. That's a great card they had too.
Oh, yeah, it was. Like Gene said, Tommy, I got to see some people what was cool that I remember and that I knew as far as fans and everything, that I got to meet a bunch of people that I hadn't met before and everything. But there was a lot of people come by and we took pictures with a bunch of people and signed a bunch of autographs and everything, like I said. And then got to talk to some of the guys I hadn't seen in a while, but like guys that was your friends, Tommy, like Ron Simmons and those different guys that you and Eddie traveled with and everything. We got to sit and have good conversations and everything, which Gene was there with me, and we had a good time and everything. But man, it was a really cool show. I mean, I want to thank Neil Taylor for having me on it, and the rest of the bunch, the rest of his crew, they was really professional, and man, it was just a great show and a good time. I mean, I think for the fans and for the wrestlers, like Gene said, I really enjoyed myself. But the cool thing about this and about the Memphis Mafia stuff, people can me and Tommy don't have to be together all the time. We have a good time being together a lot of the time and everything. But I mean, Tommy's going to be at this place and I'm going to be at this place. And the good thing is you can catch Tommy or you can catch me. If it's Tommy, that's cool. I want you to go see Tommy. And if you can catch me, that's cool too. But I'm going to be around. Me and Tommy will be together a lot. And there'll be times when Tommy's over here and I'm over there. But the main thing is come out and enjoy some independent pro wrestling and have a good time and holler and cheer and boo or whatever you want to do and have a good time. That's what it's all about.
Well, Tommy, it wouldn't have been a trip to Corinth, Mississippi if we didn't see the Mega Man himself. Rodney Grimes came through, and we got to see Rodney. And so he said to you hello as well.
He sure did, Tommy.
I said hi.
Hey, Tommy, you're going to laugh. I had to go do a signing that afternoon, and Gene showed up right at the end of it, but it was at a cigar shop, and they have drinks there also and everything. But the guy that owns it, he is a huge Tommy Rich fan, and he said he was wanting to see when we could come back over there. I could get you over there, so we got to figure that out sometime. But he was super.
Nothing wrong with a good cigar now.
Hey, it was super cool, nice people. You can ask Jim, super nice people, and man, I had a good time over there and everything, and that was really cool. Also, and a bunch of people come in and seen myself and Ricky, and took pictures, and we signed autographs and everything. But that was really neat too. Like I said, he had a bunch of good sponsors for the show, and it just wound up being like I said, an outstanding night. I had a good time, and you know how it is, Tommy. I mean, when you do have a good time and everything, it just makes everything when you get to see the fans, like I said, meet the fans and everything. We just had a really big time, which, like I said, I know Tommy's done told me he had a great weekend also. So I think we all come out ahead on this deal.
Well, yeah, Tommy was over hanging out with a fellow NWA world champion. Ronnie Garvin was up there, Powers of Pain. So, Doug got to hang out with some cool people. Tommy got to hang out with some cool people. So just a great weekend all around.
Taboo from ECW was there. I mean, they had, we had a big weekend down there too in Kentucky.
Good stuff. Well, hey, you talked about all the states you're hitting. You're hitting another state as well. June 13th and 14th, you're going to be in Illinois, Metropolis, Illinois. You guys are going to be headed up that way too.
Hey, Gene, have you seen this? Tommy's got a Superman outfit. Have you ever seen him in a Superman outfit?
I have not.
Well, we got to get him and put it on for you.
Oh,
That's what
yes.
Metropolis, Illinois, is the home of Superman, right?
Absolutely.
And there's a Superman museum there, right?
Right.
Okay. And we got to when me and Tommy get there, I'm going to get his Superman outfit out. When we get him, maybe I can get a picture of that before we get there.
Oh, you must. You must.
Well, I have been mistaken for Clark Kent.
That's why you got them glasses on tonight, so we don't think it's Superman on here.
Hey, well, I was fixing to tell you, if he don't have a Superman outfit, if we can't find a Superman outfit, we can always stop by the King's and borrow his, because I guarantee he's got a Superman outfit.
He has got a Superman outfit and a Batman outfit and a Batmobile to go with it. You guys can get whatever you need from the King, that's for sure.
Right. But hey, and what's cool, Gene, is the show you said in Mayfield, and man, that is a great. What is it? Pro Wrestling Alliance.
Pro Wrestling Entertainment, Mayfield Mayhem.
Pro Wrestling Entertainment, man, what a cool promotion that is with my boy Jason James, and he's going to have the King, Wildfire, myself, Dangerous Doug on the show, and that's really cool. And I'm in talks with him about some other dates also coming up. Man, he's always really cool with me and Tommy and the King and everything, but we're going to be on some other stuff with him. And man, like I said, he always runs great shows, class act, and I mean family friendly entertainment, and it's just cool. Like, he gets a lot of old school fans out for us to meet and everything, and that's really a neat deal.
That's good to hear, man. You hear a lot of people complain about bad promoters and stuff, and there's a few out there, but there's a lot of guys like Jason and Neil and different guys, right? That are doing big things and good things and making a great places for the guys like you to go and work and meet fans, and for fans to see a good show that's ran right. And I'm glad to hear you show these guys some love, because they deserve it, because they work hard to put on a good show.
Well, man, Gene, you do know. I was fixing to say you don't know, but you do know. How many people comes up to me the other night? How many people came up to me and bought pictures of, they'd buy a picture of me, but then they'd buy a picture also of me and Tommy. And they'd ask me, well, where's Tommy at? And I'd say, he's in such and such. Well, a couple times I looked at Gene. I said, "Where is Tommy at?" I said, "I know where he's at. He's in Kentucky. What town is he in, Gene?" And Gene would tell me what town he was in. And then somebody else asked me something. I looked over at my wife and I said, "What?" They was asking me a question about something. I said, "When did that happen?" or something. And then Gene says, "Well, it's really good. You can't remember what they're asking you or whatever." I said, "I can remember, but not exactly." It was just like a 2 or 3 answer question. And I thought, shoot, here I'm sitting here signing this, trying to remember dates and stuff. I told Gene, Tommy, he's the date guy, not me, but I'm pretty good with yeah, I'm pretty good with stuff. But I told him, I said, that's usually your forte there. But anyway, they was asking me about you and everything. I was answering those questions, and they was asking about different ones of us and everything. And I answered a lot of questions, but like I said, we had a good time. We sat there and I talked with everybody and everything, just like you did up there. But it's cool that we've got this different stuff coming up that me and Tommy's going to be on, and I'm really looking forward to it.
It's funny, you do these podcasts together and people get this impression that we're like the three amigos and we go everywhere together. Because I'll be at shows that neither one of y'all are booked on, and people are like, "Hey, where's Doug and Tommy?" I'm like, we don't live together. Like, we don't go everywhere together. Like, it's cool, we do get to hang out, but it's not all the time, So
no, it's neat when it doesn't.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, let's, we talked about all the cool stuff went on last weekend. So, there has been, we talked about there's been some projects going on that, we kind of had to take a break from the podcast here and wrap up a few things and get some other things going. We wanted to finish up the book. The podcast is going to be popping up in some new places pretty soon.
Gene,
working on that.
Hey, Gene, I just pulled up here, actually on Amazon right now. It's just not in the UK, but actually on Amazon right now. If you go to Amazon and you punch in like my brother's name or the Uncrowned King of Professional Wrestling, the book pops up now on our Amazon here in the US.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, good deal.
So that's really cool. So that's what
there it is.
From if you go right down there, see Amazon. It's actually on our so that's cool. So everybody, what I was showing Gene was the book. It's if you want to order it and you don't order it from the publishers, you can actually order it on Amazon. Like so, whenever myself or Tommy's around, I can sign it for you. Tommy can sign it for you, or whatever. Like I said, there's a lot of stories about Tommy in there also.
Yeah, absolutely. Wherever you get the book, it's coming from Doug, so you can bring it to any signing, any event that Doug's going to be at, and he'll be happy to sign it for you. So that's
of
cool.
All people, Tommy, we got to do the forward in a book. I got the guy to do the forward that Eddie kind of looked up to a lot of his life was the King Jerry Lawler, and when I was getting him to do the forward, he said, "Well, Doug, I didn't know you wrote a book." And I said, "Well, yeah, right. And I want you to do this forward for it." He said, "Well, who are you going to get to read it to you?" And I said, "Well, you're trying to be funny now, aren't you?"
That definitely sounds like the King there.
Oh, that's him. He's still always got a line for you.
I told somebody that I had recently co-authored a book, and they said, "Oh, so you officially wrote more books than you've read at this point, huh?" And I was like, "Okay, that's
there you go."
And some other stuff that's coming up. That again, like I said, the book's kind of been in the works for a while. We just kind of kept it quiet, and that's kind of how we roll here. We kind of just work on things in silence and don't talk about it till there's something to talk about. A lot of people will say, "Hey, coming up, we're going to maybe or might not do something," but something that's kind of been in the works for a long time, but we didn't ever mention it. But now it's been announced. It's out there. Everybody knows, of course, is the Vice Dark Side of the Ring episode coming up about Eddie. And so we're excited about that. And I know you can't really talk about that until it airs, but just I want to put it out there that it's coming up soon. It's going to be airing next month. And once it does air, we'll talk about it at length here on the show. And Doug can kind of tell you his thoughts on it and kind of what went into it, how it came about, and, what went into making that show.
I got you. If I don't like it, I can blame it all on Tommy, right?
Yeah, if you don't like it, you can tell everybody how it's Tommy's fault, and we'll get your side of the story, and then we can get Tommy to defend himself here.
And you know what, Gene? Here's the thing. My brother, I think about my brother every day about different things and everything. And what's cool to me is this past February would have been 30 years that Eddie passed away ago. And what's really cool to me is I still think about him every day, but that there's so much interest in different things that he done today. To me, that's really cool. And what's really cool to me is I can go on and watch stuff that him and Tommy did that people still talk about today, and angles. And when Eddie first switched heel and started the hot stuff, it was when he was feuding with Tommy. It was after they was tag team and broke up and everything. And that's really cool to me. I love all that stuff. And that's some of the best stuff that you can go back and watch. I mean, you can go back further than that. And Tommy's in some great stuff with Buzz Sawyer and a bunch of different guys. And what's the cool thing is when Tommy started, I don't think you could get in the business at a better time than that. Well, I mean, I guess earlier, I don't know if that would have been better, but what I'm saying is everybody Tommy worked with could freaking work, and was to get in the business then you had to be able to work. So, right, Tommy, that's.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was so blessed. I mean, guys like the Funks and Shit Your Daddy, Eddie Marlin, Tojo, Jackie Fargo. I mean, and that was just in Tennessee. When I went to Georgia, I got to work with God, be a superstar, Bill Eadie. I mean, Stan Hansen, the Road Warriors. I mean, the who's who's. And most of all, now some of them, like Road Wars, y'all, they just come in and beat you up because they didn't know how to wrestle. But when I broke in, all the other guys, they took and taught me Kim Patera. I mean, just guys like that could have tied you up in a knot. They took the time, they seen potential. And of course, I was very respectful, and they took and trained me, man. I did shoot. If I didn't wrestle them, I teamed up with them.
And like I said, Gene, I don't want to say that was the golden age, what I'm saying, when Tommy started, but everybody during that, if you look back and I pull up some stuff on Tommy, or I'm just looking through things on Eddie, then Tommy will pop up in different matches that some I've never even seen before, but it's all the best. Everybody's freaking good back then. I don't want to say in the years past everybody wasn't good, but what I'm saying is the who's who of pro wrestling from when Tommy started that year and went on to Georgia, and then, like I said, everybody in Tennessee that he worked with and everything. But man, what a cool deal! And Eddie started in '79, and that was a good time also, and everything. Which I'm not knocking no other generations or heirs, but you talking about getting to work with the freaking cream of the crop and everything. I think Tommy will be the first one to tell you that he got to work with some good guys.
Oh Lord, I mean, it's hard to name one that was. It's a lot easier to name the ones it was because it wasn't. I mean, and even back then, I mean, your first match to your last match was all good matches because the guys knew how to work. It ain't like that. Now we got our good independents, but what kills us is that backyard stuff that they got going on.
Yeah.
That's what kills us. There's a lot of good independents. There's some good kids out there today that won't never get the opportunity because when it was territories, even if you wasn't the main event or the semi, if you was good, you could work the territory and you work 5, 6, 7 days a week, and you could make a living and maybe go to Kansas City next and get a little bit better push, and then go to Florida. I mean, you had the opportunity was there. Plus, you could just make a living doing what you love to do. So it's hard for these kids on the independents now. I mean, you got a couple of companies, and if you ain't in that clique, then you ain't gonna get the opportunity. So it sucks. Some of these kids that we go to these independent shows and see some that's and respectful. Now, when I go in and they think they know more than I do, then I ain't got much time for them. But when you go in one's yes, sir, and when you watch my match, stuff like that, I don't mind doing it, and really respect them too, and hate they won't get the opportunity maybe to go somewhere and get a chance.
Well, because I mean, you even look at like WWE and AEW guys. I mean, they don't get to work but 2 or 3 nights a week at best, and then they've got like a roster of 20 or 30 people, so they all just kind of wrestle the same people all the time. Where you guys were wrestling every night of the week, sometimes multiple towns on the same day, and you got a chance to work all these different people of different styles, of different abilities, and it's just they just don't have the opportunities you guys had. It's just unfortunate, like you said, Tommy.
That's what I was fixing to say. Tommy said we might have worked 6, 7 times a week. I think me and him worked a lot of times 9 or 10 times a week, and everything. But that was cool. We knew what our job was, and like I said, we'd work every night. Then TV, a lot of times you'd have 1 TV or 2 TVs to do also and everything. And me and Tommy would work. I don't want to say every night, but a lot of nights, multiple times. And that was cool because we knew what our job was and where we fit in and everything. And we done what we needed to do and everything. And like I told you before, G, my dad told me before, it didn't matter what a promoter needed. If you was a great worker, you could be like a utility guy because you never knew who wasn't going to show up and what you might be asked to do. But as long as you could fill any role like Tommy could, as far as being a babyface, a heel, whatever you need to do. If we needed to manage somebody, if we whatever that night we needed, we could do. That's when you was really a full-fledged worker. That was my dad, Tommy Gilbert's logic, and I think it was pretty well right.
It makes Makes a lot of sense. And, to circle back to where we started on that topic, I'm excited about this Dark Side of the Ring episode because I know there's a lot of like young fans that watch that show, and there's going to be a lot of people who maybe up to now haven't been exposed to Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. This is going to be their first exposure to him, and they're going to hear his name. They're going to learn a little bit about him, and then they're going to go out. They're going to get on YouTube. They're going to start looking him up. Hopefully they'll want to read a book about him. They'll go try to find a book about him. But man, that's been one great thing about that book though, Doug, is like, I went back, and one of the reasons we kind of put the podcast on pause is like, I went back and watched everything I could get my hands on from starting out in Memphis through Mid-South, through, as much of Eddie's career as I could get my hands on. Angles, matches, the fabulous one, the turn on him with him and Tommy. And my whole life revolved around Eddie Gilbert there for a couple of months. And I just, pretty much relived his whole career there as we were talking constantly about it. And just so cool, man. And there's so many people that Eddie worked that I didn't realize he worked when I was going through all those results. Just like, I never knew Eddie worked Dick Beyer, the Destroyer,
Right.
Like I thought they were completely two different, generations. And there they
Right.
crossed paths and wrestled up in Pennsylvania and just,
Right. Well, that's what Tommy, this guy come up to me and Gene Saturday night and said the first thing he said, I'm 50. He said, I'm 52. And said, I watched you when I was a little kid. I said, excuse me? And he said, I'm 52 and I watched you when I was a little boy. I said, you did? And he said, yeah. I said, well, I'm glad. I signed him a picture and he walked off. I looked at Gene. I said, I think he's thinking about my dad, maybe. I said, maybe Eddie, but I think my dad maybe who he's thinking about. And everything.
I had to turn my head when he said that. I was like, I grew up watching you. And I was like,
yeah. He said, I'm 52. I said, you are? Good, cool. And he said, yeah, I grew up.
Doug didn't tell him.
Oh. Yeah, it's fun watching those interactions. Like I love going to these things and just sitting back and watching you guys talk to the fans and just hearing some of the things that fans come up and tell you guys. Some of it's interesting, some of it's strange.
Hey, and the funny things, what do they say? Kids will say anything, or wrestling fans will say anything also, and everything. But
the older ones will say wilder stuff than the kids will say.
Oh yeah, but that's cool, and it gets over with me. Tommy would have laughed at some of the interactions that was there the other night. Like I know I would have laughed at some of his, I'm sure. But anyway, yeah, like I said, I think myself, Tommy both had a big weekend, had a big last whole month and everything of wrestling. Like I said, we've got dates coming up all over the country and everything, and I can't wait. Like I said, Memphis Mafia on tour, and like I said, you'll see Tommy, you see myself, and man, we can't wait to see everybody, all the fans. And man, I'm happy to be back on here and just talking with you and Tommy about all this different stuff.
Yeah, man, I've missed this. I look forward to this every week.
I'm excited about that May the 3rd. We just has a bunch of stuff coming up, so it's gonna be a big summer.
It certainly is. The anniversary of the Memphis Mafia tour is everything I hoped it would be, and then some. We kind of talked about this at the end of the last year that was coming up. It was like, well, hey, let's push this. And man, not that you guys don't get booking a lot anyway, but it's just fun to be able to. It seems like people are really digging, getting to remember. Hey, Memphis Mafia. I heard the Memphis Mafia mentioned a lot Saturday. I guess is what I'm getting at. That it's really clicking with people and. You guys got the shirts now, and that's cool for fans to get. And everybody loves that picture on the gimmick table, right? Like everybody goes straight to that picture of you guys together. It's such a cool. I'm so glad that picture exists. You know what I mean? It's a real conversation piece for fans online and in person.
What was really cool, and me and Tommy can go back and think about it and think of those times. Imagine Gene at all of the different buildings where you had Tommy in a match, my brother in a match, Buddy Landell in a match, or me and Buddy in a tag, and Brian in a match, or any number of us, or at different times we'd all be in a match, and then I'll come back in a 10-man tag where we would wrestle every good guy on the card and everything. But you gotta imagine the personality with my brother Tommy, Buddy, Brian, myself, and we all, I think, more than not, my brother Tommy, I'm trying to think age. I mean, as far as starting wise, Tommy, then Eddie and Buddy started right around the same time, and then I started a couple years before Brian. But me and Brian just followed after them three, and everything, whatever they said, whether we knew it wasn't right or not, we done whatever them three said. So we had a big time. Everywhere we went. They told us a lot of stuff that was good to do, and they probably told us a lot of stuff that we probably shouldn't have done that we did, but we always had a good time. And if it was ever anything that we probably shouldn't have done, we just said, well, they told us to do it, and that was kind of our out.
Either way, you're learning, right? Good or bad.
I'm gonna tell you what. That was a wild bunch of boys right there. Them five was, but they all had good souls, man. And so, it was. We had a lot of fun together, and some people might have shook their head at us, but at the end of the day, us five, we were like the five musketeers. I mean, we was together, and we all had good souls. Hey, if any harm that ever came, probably did it to ourselves. We didn't ever harm nobody, but we sure had a lot of fun.
And you know what? Anybody can say whatever they want, Gene, but we was all cool together. It didn't matter at what point or whatever. Now we might have shook our head at each other once or twice, but they wasn't ever going to be no problem when we was all together as far as with anybody else.
I feel like y'all are the kind of group where y'all could all pick amongst each other, but then again, if somebody else wants to step to y'all all got each other's back. Like,
Oh yeah, most definitely. That was it. I mean, we'd mess with each other, and it was cool, and we'd all have a good laugh. I mean, at one point it might be them messing with me, at another point it might be them messing with Brian, at another point it'd be messing with Buddy, and a lot of times, Tommy and Buddy'd mess with Eddie. But I mean, we had great. It just made everything on the road. Like I said, you wanted to get home every once in a while and see your family and everything. I know Tommy did, but it took some of the monotony away from it when we had a good time with each other and everything. It made you. I mean, like I've said before, I was around. Me and Tommy was around each other more when we was around our wives during that time, a lot of the time and everything. So you got to, you got to break the monotony and have a good time. Try to keep each other going. Now, there'd be different times that we were supposed to keep going that I decided to take time to the airport, and we both needed a break, and he went home and I went home, and we stayed home 3 or 4 days, but then we come back and we get started again.
Well, you can talk about your different groups in wrestling. People can talk about their horsemen and their stud stables and dangerous alliances and all that, but I'll put that Memphis Mafia group up against any group of wrestlers in wrestling in history, man. Y'all are some of the best to come together. So again, I'm really happy that we're able to celebrate this big 35-year anniversary, and you guys are out there making sure everybody remembers the Memphis Mafia. We got a couple of fan questions. Ben Raven is a great listener of the show who's sending a couple of questions, and a couple of times his question's gotten in late where it's already been asked or something's already happened. Well, he sent this question just as we were taking our break there for our projects. And so I told him, I promised him, I said, as soon as we come back, yours is going to be the first question we ask. So I'm going to do it right here. And this is a topic that we address in the book at length, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it for Ben and kind of get at least a short answer on it. It's about that 1994 shoot interview that Eddie did with Bob Barnett. And he just wants to know if Doug, how that interview came about, and since shoot interviews really weren't a thing at the time, his was the first, what kind of compelled Eddie to do it? And did he or you have any reservations about him doing it?
I think that pretty much shows Eddie was a little bit, his thinking outside the box, and he was about a decade ahead of everyone else, because everyone else said that if you ever done anything like that, it'd be career suicide. And he didn't think that. And this is the thing I laugh about. And whether you're a big fan of the sheets or not, or whatever, and to be honest, I never really was. But here was Eddie's logic, and tell me whether this is good logic or not. Use everything you can use to help yourself. When I look back at that, how can you have any better logic than that? I mean, as far as getting your point across to everybody across the world during those times, that we couldn't sit in front of the computer, Gene, and look at everybody and tell everybody what we wanted. But Eddie used everything that he had, that he could, to get his point across. And to me, to look back at that, that's really cool. That was where I think he was steps and decades ahead of other people.
That's one thing I've learned doing research for the book was I don't think anybody used the dirt sheets as well as Eddie did, because like, you know, how would like WCW, when they hired Eddie to do booking, like how would they really know what Eddie was doing in Alabama, how well it was going, how it was getting over? But Eddie was letting the dirt sheets know, hey, this is what we got going on down here. We brought the numbers up to this and that. And so then that word, everybody read the dirt sheets from the office and the other promotions. So you got guys in WCW reading like, hey, Eddie Gilbert's killing it down there in Alabama. Maybe we need to look at him. And that's why he did it, right? He didn't really care if fans knew what they were doing. He was doing it to help his cause to get jobs and other promotions, right?
Here's the thing. A lot of the old school guys said, well, we don't need to talk with anyone. But here's the thing. When you've done got a company that's doing it and done putting stuff out everywhere, it's going to go out. So do you use it to help yourself? Or do you not use it at all? Or do you use it to help yourself, to better yourself? Or what do you think? To me, now that I look back at it, which I knew when he done the interview, and I thought it was cool, because there's one thing, it didn't matter with my brother as far as with myself or with Tommy or whoever. If he didn't think something was good, he didn't say it was good. He didn't sugarcoat anything. You can ask Tommy, and I mean, it took him quite a while. Man, the first time he told me that something I done was really good, I thought, damn, I finally freaking met his expectation. But his expectation for everybody was really high and everything. But I mean, he used what he needed to use, which I pop and I laugh at different guys and say, well, he used this for that. And I thought, who does not use, Gene, to better yourself? Do they not use what they need to use to better themselves?
Yeah, but Eddie was good he was good at building you up and getting better out of you than you had too. I mean, Eddie was real good. If he had a point he wanted to get across to you, he'd get it across, and he'd make you feel good about doing it too, or make you think, well, hell, I can do that. I mean, Eddie was good at what he did.
For sure. Now, he did have one follow-up question. I'm kind of interested in hearing the answer to this, Doug, because I don't think me and you discussed this whenever we were talking about this for the book. He asked, what was your dad's feelings and reaction to Eddie doing that interview? Did he get it, or was he kind of uneasy about it? Did he get it afterwards, or did he say anything at all?
You know, my dad was so, you know, I guess we'd say old school and everything. But I think it had come to the point by that time that even my dad had realized things was changing, you know, and at some point, different people, even people that was so against the sheets and everything, it finally got to a point, Gene, where the people that knocked them so much that I seen them raiding them in the dressing room. So it was a deal where, you know, I mean, it was almost like a closet wrestling fan, somebody that says they hate wrestling, but you walk in their house and they've got wrestling on every night. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So it was
right.
It was one of them deals where they'd say that no good fucking Meltzer, excuse my language, but or Keller, or you know, there was 3 or 4 different ones of them and everything. But I mean, everybody, knew but I mean, me and Tommy would still go to the links of the earth to kayfabe and not be around, not letting other fans know for anything. But I mean, the people that read those sheets and watched the interviews, the sheet interviews, they was going to do that anyway. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It was nothing. It was like I'll tell you, and me and Tommy talk about it, I'll say there's different like cult type followings. Well, those guys had their cult type followings for them also. And what would kind of get me hot about it, and I guess I changed my outlook years later, was I thought I didn't really like it that much because I looked at it as them making money off of us. You know what I'm saying? Whether that was the right outlook. Now that I look back at it, I think Eddie probably had the best outlook on it as far as, you use what you can use, not the boys, because Eddie was always good to the boys that worked for him or that he was around, that was his friends and everything. He never used the boys. Eddie was always honest. You can ask Tommy this. Eddie was always honest with the boys anywhere he went and booked. Everybody knew what he expected and what he wanted. He didn't lie. I mean, there's a ton of bookers that would lie to you. You can ask Tommy. I mean, they'd say, "Oh, you're good, and the whole time you wasn't good. I mean, Eddie wasn't going to promise you something and not deliver, right, Tommy?
Yeah. No, if Eddie told you something, you can take it to the bank.
I just always looked at it as Eddie's utilizing something he had that was useful, where like these guys are going to report either way. They're going to be out there telling stories about you, and you might as well control the narrative and be like, well, if they're going to talk about me, I'm going to tell them what I want them to say and use it to my advantage,
And here's the thing. He would tell you how good Tommy was, how good his top 3 or 4 guys was, and how much money they was drawing for the company and everything. And it didn't only make him look good, but it made those 3 or 4 guys that he was talking about, made them look good, and it made it look, I mean, everybody would show that everybody was drawing money. And now, right or wrong, and we all have different outlooks on that, but to me, when I look back at it now, I look back at you was using every tool you had to get everybody over. And to me, that there's no wrong. There's no wrong in that.
No, like I say, I always thought it was great because, like I say, those guys were going to be talking anyway. You might as well have them telling the truth, or at least what you want them to tell. But
I laughed of all guys, and I listened to a guy sent me a thing of Jeff Jarrett's podcast the other day, and man, it was cool. Jeff was really cool talking about Eddie, and it was on Eddie's birthday that it had come out and everything. And, Eddie was around Jeff quite a bit and everything, and they got along fine and everything. But and like I said, it was really cool and everything. I just kind of shook my head that, what's the guy's name that Jeff does his podcast with, Gene?
Conrad Thompson.
Yeah, he said, Jeff, can you believe that Eddie talked to them guys? And I thought, dude, you ain't even ever took a freaking bump. Shut up. I mean, what I guess the difference to me is, I think if you've been in the business and you've busted your butt in the business, you've probably got some say so, or to me, you got some credibility. But if you haven't, don't nobody really care what you say. I don't care if you've got the biggest company in the universe. It doesn't matter to one of us. It doesn't matter to Tommy. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, it's just,
how many mortgages you sold last week?
Exactly. We don't care, dude. We don't care. But I'll tell you what I did like. I really appreciated the good stuff that Jeff said and everything. And man, he's busted his butt business and everything. And he's probably, I was fixing to say, he's probably still got the first dollar that he ever made. But then again, his dad probably kept that dollar. And I think his dad's probably still got the first dollar of Tommy's, and maybe the first dollar of mine. But anyway, I don't know that. I like Jerry.
He got the first dollar a lot of us made.
Yeah, Jeff was very complimentary of Eddie, and at one point in that interview, he said that working his first big angle with Eddie is where all this really started to click and make sense for him, and he started to understand. Eddie taught him psychology and pacing and all that. He was very complimentary of Eddie in that interview.
Oh, he sure was, and I appreciate Jeff. Jeff's said some nice things about me, but Jeff's always been. Which Tommy was around Jeff. He said some nice things about Tommy during that deal too, because he's talking about working with Tommy some when he was young and everything. But no, Jeff's always been cool with me and everything. I laugh. I say stuff to Jeff that like I've said on here and everything. But no, Jeff's always been cool with me and Tommy.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. An hour has flown by. We haven't done this in so long. I looked up, and here we are right here at the end of the time. So we had one other question, but we'll save that for one of our Q&A episodes. And next week, I don't know, we've got a couple of different topics we're batting around, but I figured maybe since we're heading to Philadelphia soon and we're going to the ECW arena, and both of you guys are pretty well versed with the ECW arena, that we may talk a little bit about the old Paisan himself, the Big Don, and some of his exploits up there in Philadelphia. And who knows, we might even talk about the Dark Patriot and Hot Stuff International's reign of terror up there in Eastern Championship Wrestling.
Hey, we'll sure have to talk about the Big Don. We might even get the Big Don to carry me and you on some of his trails that he's walked up and down that place on.
I'm hoping the Big Don takes us around and shows us the town, because he owns that place up there is what I hear. So going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it, folks. We appreciate you joining us.
Come to the place we can go get a slice at.
Hey, now you're talking. We will definitely do that. I want to go up there. I want to see you guys put a hurting on Shane Douglas and whoever this supposed mystery partner is. And I want to get a slice with the Big Don. And I got to have one of these Philly cheesesteaks I've been hearing about all my life. And Doug's already said he's got a line on the best place to get them up there, right?
Yeah, Tommy's the one that hooked me up with the place, actually. There's like two places. But there's one that me and Tommy really like and everything. But, yeah, listen, Gene, hey, like Tommy said, and you said, I know this has gone by quick, but we appreciate everybody listening, and man, we're going to make it another. We're going to try to go 60 weeks straight this time. You said we went 30 weeks straight last time. We're going to try to go 60 weeks straight this time with Tommy and myself, or Tommy or me, or have one of us on here with Gene. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff to plug, and we appreciate everybody listening to us. And
big things coming up too.
Yep, and like Tommy said and Gene said, I mean, we love seeing our fans, and we love everybody listening, and we've got a bunch of stuff coming up. And like Tommy said, the Big Don will be in Philadelphia. Tommy Wildfire Rich and myself, Dangerous Eddie Gilbert, and we can't wait to get up there. And like I said, Tommy runs things up there, so we're going to make sure he takes care of us, Gene.
Yeah.
You got that right. So remember, folks, the book is on Amazon. You can find it on Amazon.com. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, the Uncrowned King of Professional Wrestling. You can also find it at tinyurl.com/Eddie Gilbert book. And if you want one signed by Doug, there is going to be that virtual signing coming up April 26th. Go to douggilbert.com and find the link where you can get that pre-purchased.
And if you want the Wildfire Dangerous clothing wear, it's Gilbert Family Pro Wrestling Tees. You can get the Memphis Mafia shirts, and me and Tommy, just like me and Tommy wear and everything. And like I said, man, we love everybody listening. And, man, it's been great to start this season 2 over again. And listen, like I've always said, I say what I mean what I say. Myself, Tommy Rich, will be here and every week. And peace, everybody. Tommy, you got anything to say?
Hey, somebody say something about tell your friends. Y'all tune in, because we got a lot of big things coming up.
Before we get out of here, I just want to take a moment to remind everyone, if you have an upcoming wrestling show, autograph signing, collector show, Comic-Con, or any event or booking that you would like to inquire about the services of Dangerous Doug Gilbert and or Tommy Wildfire Rich, just send us an email at douggilbertpodcast@outlook.com, and someone will get back to you as soon as possible to get more information on your event and do the best we can to make that happen. Also, if you are interested in advertising your event, your business, your product to the listeners of Dangerous Conversations, as well as to promote your event, business, or product across all our social media platforms, you can send that inquiry to douggilbertpodcast@outlook.com. We would love to work together with you to get that out there to the listeners of Dangerous Conversations. Remember to check out douggilbertpodcast.com. There you can find links to all things related to this podcast, as well as Doug and Tommy themselves. You'll find a link to the Dangerous Conversations Facebook page and the Dangerous Conversations Twitter, now known as X. And we're always posting content daily, involving the Gilbert family, Tommy Rich, all sorts of things from their career. We got magazine articles, videos, pictures, you name it. We're posting new content every single day. Make sure you follow so you don't miss out on any of that. Plus, you can follow Doug and Tommy's personal Facebook pages on there. Dangerous Doug Gilbert. You can search that on Facebook. You can also search Tommy Wildfire Rich. They both have Facebook pages. And Doug does have an X page as well, and you can follow them there. But if you really want to help support, you can go to the Gilbert Family Pro Wrestling Tees store, which there's a link to there on the douggilbertpodcast.com. And you can find t-shirts of Doug, Eddie, and their famous father, Tommy Gilbert, as well. Also, Tommy Rich is going to be having some t-shirts coming up very soon. Follow him on Facebook. We'll be talking about him here. But look for some cool new Tommy Wildfire Rich t-shirts coming out soon that you can partake in as well. Also, if you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on the platform of your choice. It would really help us in building up the podcast for the future. Plus, it helps us know what you like, what you don't like, where we need to take this podcast moving forward. Also, if you want to see a whole bunch of matches, promos, and angles, a lot of the ones that you're going to hear us talk about on this very podcast, you can go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@RetroWrestlingArchive. Of course, it's linked right there at douggilbertpodcast.com. And you will find a ton of matches featuring Eddie Gilbert, Tommy Gilbert, Doug Gilbert, Tommy Wildfire Rich. There's playlists of all them that feature hundreds of matches of each of them. So make sure you go check that out. And not just of them, there are thousands, literally, at this point, of videos from wrestling from across the territory days, you name it. If we don't have the video uploaded to our channel, we at least have organized you a playlist of just about every territory, every show that's out there. You can find it in one convenient location there on YouTube at the Retro Wrestling Archive. Plus, don't forget, you can find all things related to my popular retro wrestling review, USWA Podcast, at uswapodcast.com.
In the heart of Tennessee, born with pride, Doug and Tommy taking rings in stride. Memphis legends never backing down, wrestling warriors, they wear the crown. USWA, glory in their veins, fighting legends breaking chains. In the square circle they made their name, podcast champions, it's their claim to fame. On the mic they roar, on the map they soar, dangerous conversations, fans wanting more. Podcast kings ruling the waves, Memphis wrestling raising the stakes. From title belts to Hall of Fame, Doug and Tommy carved the name. Fists of fury and hearts of gold, every story, every fight retold. Tales of glory, laughter, cry, Tennessee warriors with hearts open wide. In the ring or on the air, legends living without a care. On the mic they roar, on the mat they soar, dangerous conversations, fans wanting more.